Hey everyone, welcome to part 4, and I think this is going to be the last part of Drawing with Joe, Short-Haired Girl. In this video, we're going to start coloring. My process for coloring is that I put a color layer above my rendered layer, and I turn it into multiply, so a multiply blending layer. If you don't have Photoshop, I'm pretty sure you can do this otherwise. I usually go for a neutral colored skin tone. So this girl's skin is gonna be like a light color, and I know it looks dark now, but trust me, I want to go for a light color, like a light kind of tan, you know, kind of like a beach ready tan or whatever the fuck. Whoa, where did that go? Whoa, what the fuck's happening? I'm scared. Oh, okay, here we go. I put it on a multiply layer because when I put it on a color layer, which a lot of artists do, what's happening? Oh, okay. Looks like I betrayed myself. It looks like I am using a color layer. Great, thanks, Josephine. Fuck you. Alright. Guess we are using a color layer. Well, sometimes I don't like using a color layer because, as you can see here, on a color layer, colors seem very bright. To me, at least. Colors seem very bright, and I don't like using it because it makes my colors look really tacky, or too bright, or just kind of muddy. I usually use multiply. You can use multiply or color if you want, whatever works for you. Sometimes I use color because I can't get like a certain color on the multiply layer. But here we go. I'm erasing the color out of the eyes because we don't need that color in the eyes. You can probably color all on the same layer, or you can split it up into separate layers if you want. Depends on how organized you are. Sometimes I just color on the same layer because I'm lazy. I don't give a shit. I want to do a brownish color, like a brown reddish color for the hair. I was gonna do blue, but I'm on a color layer, so it looks really bright, like I said. So I want to do like a dark brown, dark reddish color. Oh yeah, that looks nice. Maybe a little. Yeah, there we go. So when you color, make sure that the color layer is above your values layer or your rendered layer. And what the color layer does is it kind of indicates the value beneath the what am I trying to say? It indicates the value of the layer beneath it. So that's why I did a black and white portrait painting underneath, because if you're still learning about values, or if you're not sure about values with color instead of just black and white, then start with black and white. It's the easiest way. A lot of people do this technique. So they start with black and white and then they render it and finish it off with color. Most of the time, I just start with color. I don't start with black and white. But for this video and for this series, I started with black and white so I can show you guys a slower way, but like a better way, kind of. You know, if you're new to values and shit. So here, don't know what I'm doing. Looks like I'm just pissing around. Okay. Sorry, I seem kind of moody in this video. I'm just watching myself do shit that I don't usually do. It's weird. If you guys knew, then if you guys were in my position right now, you'd be weirded out too. Like, I used a color layer instead of a multiply layer. I never do that. Anyway, so what we're doing here, yeah, I know there's like some scary parts. I'm just checking on the color. You can always revert back to the normal layer. So if you don't know what your multiply color is, you can just revert back to the normal layer and then do the little eyedrop thing, get your color back, and then go back to the multiply or color layer. That's what I do all the time. Or you can just make a swatch like on the side so you can keep track of your colors. That's what I would do. I don't do that personally because I forget, or I'm lazy and I don't care. Because these kinds of paintings, I just want to get them over with. I don't like spending all day on them. Some people can spend all day, and I'm just like, no, I just want to get it done. I don't really care. But I mean, I care in this video. I care. I swear. Huh, that rhymed. Anyway. So here we're just getting the color of the hair in. I'm putting the hair on a multiply layer because I found that the color layer for hair was a bit too bright. And it didn't give me the color that I really wanted. So, yeah, you can use a hard brush or a soft brush if you want. Whatever can get the color on there all the way. If you use like a blending kind of brush, it won't get the color through all the way. So I recommend using a hard brush so you can get you can thoroughly color it. Sometimes it'll just like fade away and then the color won't be there thoroughly, and then it'll just look weird in the end. So here I'm just getting the little details, getting the eyebrows. You can alternate between multiply and color. So if you have a color layer on, which I have for the skin, you can still use a multiply layer above it and make sure it's above it. And you can kind of alternate between the two, and you can kind of combine them later, I guess, if you want. I usually keep them separate. So here we're using the multiply layer, and we're getting the color of the lips on. I guess I made her wear lipstick in a way. Sometimes, usually I don't make my like female portraits wear lipstick. I like an all natural look. But sometimes, like for vanity reasons, I just put makeup on them. Here's some pretty purple eyes. Think I'm on the color layer for the eyes, because I wanted like a bright purple. I like, in a lot of my portraits, I like for the viewer to zoom in on the eyes first. I want the eyes to be the most noticeable. And then everything else, they can look around with their eyes. I don't know what I was doing here. I think I was like choosing what kind of color I wanted. Yeah, from here you can do pretty much whatever you want, whatever color eyes you want. Make sure that the value layer, so if you do eyes, make sure that the value layer underneath is not like black for the eyes or a really dark color for the eyes, because then when you color the eyes, then it'll be a really dark color. So if you try to do blue and the value underneath is really dark, it's going to look black, you know, or it's not going to be the kind of bright blue that you wanted. And here I'm just applying, this is my favorite part, by the way. This is like where I put on like cheek blush or makeup, and I usually use the multiply layer for this. And I also use the multiply layer to kind of correct the skin tone, because sometimes it can look a little yellow or it can look a little red. So I use the multiply layer to bring some, you know, some natural flushed cheeks or some blush. Yeah, just like what I'm doing there with the cheeks. Don't go too pink unless you like a really animu. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Like an animu kind of stuff. Like the really, really flushed cheeks and the huge ass eyes. I kind of veered away from the anime/manga style a long time ago, because everyone has that. I'm sure everyone has that phase when they start drawing. It's just the anime style, typical manga eyes, crazy hair colors and shapes and all that shit. That was fun while it lasted, but not really for me anymore. And I know a lot of you do it, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm not saying shit about it. Just for me, I had to veer away from it. It's not for me anymore. So now I do this kind of stuff now. Usually, I mean, yeah, casually I just go back and do some manga style if I'm just bored, or if I'm practicing some new hairstyles or eye shapes and whatnot. But most of the time it's stuff like this. So yeah, here I'm just getting in the, I don't know, like tank top. I know the skin looks a little muddy now, and that's fine. We're gonna get to, whoa, I think I'm starting it now. Holy shit. So right now what I'm doing, I put an overlay layer on top of my multiply layer. Okay, so make sure the overlay layer is above your color layer and or multiply layer. I usually go for a light pink or like a light orange color for light skin tones because, well, for light and dark skin tones, because this adds a more natural glow for the skin. If you go too yellow, which a lot of people do, if you go too yellow, it's going to look like your character literally bathed in sunlight, and it's not very good looking. So I go with like a more natural light pink or a light orange so I can kind of lighten and tint the skin color a little bit so it can look more natural. You can always play around with it too. You don't have to do a light pink or a light orange. That's just what I like to do. So for example, if you have a more sci-fi character or a more fantasy character, if they have like a blue skin or green skin, pink skin, whatever, you can experiment with the overlay layer and see which color would go best on the overlay layer to brighten up the skin. Because if you don't do this step, I mean, in this certain process, if you don't overlay the skin or overlay the whole figure, then your skin is gonna look muddy. Even if you do like a value, even if you do really light values in the beginning, your skin might look muddy. So I recommend using the overlay layer so you can, touch up the skin. And here I think I'm doing like highlights. I have no freaking clue. Yeah, there you go. So you can experiment. You don't have to use the color layer and the multiply layer at the same time. You can just do multiply, you could just do color, whatever's up to you. There's also an advanced technique that I kind of use sometimes, maybe. It's called the gradient map. And what the gradient map is you can choose two colors, and one of those colors will replace the shadow color. So if your shadows are in the gray spectrum and you use a gradient map, and let's say you chose, let's say you chose like a dark brown as one color and then a lighter brown as the other color, then what gradient map does is it replaces the gray with dark brown or light brown. So if it's like shadow, then you should probably replace it with a dark brown. And for the light, or like for highlights or for lighter skin tones, or for lighter tones of gray, then light brown will replace those lighter tones of gray. And that's what gradient map is. You can use it, and I've seen a lot of people use it. For me, it's kind of complicated, especially if I want to get something done. It's a bit of a more complicated process. If you're doing something for, the game industry, or you're doing something like a professional kind of portfolio or work, or even a commission, then you can use that, I guess. It just takes more time for me. Here you're seeing some backstage shit. Okay, here we go. I think I'm almost done here. I don't know what else I'm doing. Sometimes I also use the overlayer to brighten up my hair color or brighten up my eye color. And occasionally, not all the time, occasionally I also use the color dodge layer. Color dodge it's pretty much just really, really brightening up your color. So if I use color dodge on my eyes, and I use the purple color or like a blue color to kind of mix it in and look really pretty, then it'll just brighten up my eyes a lot. So I would use it sparingly. I wouldn't use it all the time. So here I'm just trying to figure out some stuff. Fixing up some skin tones. Also, I like to work in what I call a 3-light studio. So a 3-light studio, and not like a physical studio, but a 3-light studio in a painting. So 3 light, not 3 light sources, but like 3 kinds of light. So you have shadow on the left side. So the left side of the figure is darker. And then you have the middle, which is like kind of like light bouncing off from the upper right hand corner. And then you have the right side, which is where the light's coming from directly. That's why I'm putting these little light highlights. So it looks like it's coming from, you know, kind of behind her. So imagine like a little light bulb in the right hand corner. So you don't have to do this. This is just like a thing that I've seen a lot. It outlines your character and makes them more noticeable. And you can see that there's like 3 types of light in this little gray world that she lives in, this gray, depressing world she lives in. I know, I'm lazy when it comes to backgrounds. I don't freaking like doing them. So yeah, don't make your outlines too thick, you know, unless it's like a really bright light, but I like very subtle lines of light. You know, you don't have to make it too out there, and you don't have to use yellow. Here I'm just using like a natural yellow, like a light orange yellow kind of light. And you can use pink. I've seen a lot of people do, like, if you have like a pink light, or you can do green, you can do blue, whatever suits the setting. You can use a soft brush. So like I use a hard brush for the outside edge. But when you want light bouncing off from different parts of the face, I use like a soft brush. You can use a very soft brush or an airbrush. So you can have light travel a little farther from the harder edge. I don't do this all the time. It's just sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. And here, I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh yeah, I'm fixing the background. You can feel free to fix the background if you want. I usually always start with a mid-gray color. And what I mean by mid-gray is like on the color palette, like you see there. I just go towards the gray spectrum and I go right in the middle. That's usually what I go for. It depends on what color your figure is. So if you have really dark colors on your figure, then it's best to go with the light background. Or if you have light colors on your figure, then it's best to go with a dark background. Here, I wanted to make the figure stand out more, so I went with a slightly darker background because I didn't really like the light background in the first place. I always wanted to change it, but I guess right here I took the time to change it. Make sure when you do like the light outline shit, make sure it makes sense. I've seen a lot of people just put light edges where it doesn't make sense. Like, sometimes they do it on the other side too, and I'm like, well, unless you have 2 light sources, it's a bit confusing on where the light source is exactly. It looks like you have like one on the left, one on the right, and one on the bottom. So, you know, don't get too crazy with it. Just, you know, be subtle. I would recommend being subtle. But, you know, it's your style. You do what you want. So here, I'm just making some finishing touches. I think we're nearing the end of the video soon. Ooh, yeah. So here I'm just making some finishing touches. If you want to add more detail, I would recommend duplicating the color and value layer. So you can have kind of like a fresh start, and then you can add whatever you want without messing up the whole painting. Usually what I do at the end is I like add highlights or fix my colors, or I combine everything all onto one layer and I fix stuff from there. You don't have to do that. That's just what I do. Yeah, there's my signature to finish it off. Gotta move it a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So I think we're pretty much done here. Oh, sorry, that was my phone. I don't know if you guys heard that. I should have turned that off. Sorry. You guys can ask me any questions that you want in the comments. I'm always open to questions. I'm using Photoshop CS6. I think I mentioned that before. A friend hooked me up with it. I don't know how, but a friend hooked me up with it. I'm using a Wacom Pen and Touch tablet, but I'm going to get a new one soon. and I'm using, what is that? Fuck. I forgot what I was gonna say, sorry. The brushes that I use, I mentioned this before, they're all from different artists, different brushes. I don't use the same set from one artist. Oh, here I added like a blur effect. I tried to add a blur effect. I usually just do it on like the outside edge or on one side of the character, so it looks like they're kind of zooming into the camera. Or the fucking camera. Like, you know, your point of view. I use it very sparingly. I don't use it like all over the place. So anyway, we're near the end of the video. If you guys haven't already, I have an Etsy shop where I sell stickers, and I'm trying to put prints in there too, but I'll probably do that eventually. And also, I have an Instagram and a Facebook art page that you can follow me on to see what I do when I'm not making videos. What else? I think that's it, pretty much. I'm done there. So thank you guys so much for watching. This is the last part of the Drawing with Joe series. I'm really glad that you guys are watching, and I couldn't have done any of this without you guys. So, I will do another series soon, so stay tuned for that. Thank you, and bye-bye.